I think we also need ceremonies. Ceremonies speak when words fail. When you don't know how to say it, you don't know what to do, it helps to have something that says it for you. I've been amazed at how often individuals will create their own kind of ceremonies. I had a friend named Bob who every morning of the world had $1.13 in his pocket. He always had 3 quarters, 3 dimes, a nickel and 3 pennies in his pocket. Nobody knows why it was $1.13, but that's what it was every morning. After he died, 2 things happened that kind of sum up our ceremonies. First is, every time I would go see his wife, she would say, I found a penny. Found it in the kitchen. Or found it out in the driveway. I'd say, really? She said, yeah, Bob was here. Well, you know, the tendency is to argue with that. The tendency is to say, no, it really isn't. I almost got to the place I wanted to go over there and drop pennies, because finding a penny was a way for her to express her loss, to express something that what she was feeling for Bob. The other thing is that when we buried Bob's ashes, we had a separate ceremony for that. It was almost like a second funeral. And we built that on purpose. And we had people speak, and I spoke, and the family put the ashes down in the place in the marker themselves. And I was going to put the top on it, and the son came over and took the screwdriver away from him. He wanted to do it, and the grandkids stopped him. And they lined up without the family knowing this, and they put $1.13 in the casket, 3 quarters, 3 dimes, a nickel, and 3 pennies. They were in that ceremony expressing grief that they could never put into words. And just as we were leaving, I looked back, and they lined up and got on their knees, and they kissed the marker. I think even after the funeral, families can build a ceremony. Each Christmas of our lives, we light a candle because we had a grandson born on Christmas Eve, died Christmas Day. So before we do anything else, before we open gifts or before we do any other Christmas experience, we just simply light a candle and stop and remember little Isaac, how old he would be, how much we missed, how much we didn't have in that experience. And something about having that ceremony that we look forward. The grandkids now will ask me who's going to light the candle, or sometimes they'll volunteer to light it, because that has become a very meaningful thing. Too often, families tend to create elephants in the room that nobody talks about. The person who died is never talked about. The family gets together and talk around it, but nobody ever talks about it. And so the family don't get a chance to respond to each other, to grieve with each other. Many years ago, I started getting families together for what I call storytelling time, where we just sit around and tell stories about the person. It started when my grandmother died, and my father said, let's go down and visit with her the night before the funeral. And we went down and just told stories. And I didn't realize it, but in the family telling stories, you break down all those barriers. You get rid of the elephants in the room. You're able to grieve in front of each other, and you're able to grieve with each other. And those kind of experiences can become ceremonial almost, in the sense that we get together and we feel free to talk about the person. The next time everybody gets together, you have to organize it. It's not going to happen just automatically, but the next time you get together, it might be a good idea to say in advance, at a certain time, we're going to have a time where we just get together, and as a family, we talk about the person, who they were, and what they meant.